He openly talked about it. I wanted to put in a video of that was made by Disney, where Donald Duck is having a dream about being in the Nazis, and they're singing this famous song from the time, Hitler brings the world new order, new order, a new world order. But we were too afraid of copyright infringement and having Disney come after us.
And let's find that on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, you can find it on YouTube. Just type in Donald Duck Nazi. And we also, show you outright Franklin D. Roosevelt, whether you love him or hate him, talking about Hitler's attempt at what? A new world order. There's even a monument in Washington, D.C. that represents this. And then we take you down the modern train of the New World Order. We show you Nixon talking about it. We show you the Kissingers of the world. Kissinger, a real player behind this New World Order, and so much more. We show you these roundtable organizations, the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, how they were formed, what policy they have been behind, their open writings and speeches. I mean, this movie is from the horse's mouth. You are not going to see a movie with more actual documented speeches and news archives anywhere else, proving beyond a reasonable doubt that there are people out there, globalists, or what I like to call them, powerful people, that are trying to bring about one world government. And why are they trying to do so? They're trying to do so because they want to consolidate power. And on top of that, they often have bizarre personal practices. I'll leave it at that.
And your film, Invisible Empire, did bring out tons of archived news footage. That's really what I really liked about it. You started off, of course, at the beginning, you explained your story, and I loved the Jay and Silent Bob little appearance. But after that, it's just like boom, boom, this person's saying it, this person's saying it, all these influential academic politicians, bankers, and then the way the movie ended as well, you just had tons of clips that it seemed like throughout the whole movie you did show a ton of clips, but it was like at the end you still had like a ton left over, and you threw them all out there right at the end real quick.
I didn't even throw them all out there. I probably only used about a third of the videos that pertain to the New World Order, where world leaders or people within the government or the corporate arena were talking about them. And, I don't even really get to label a lot of the faces in that little basically end credits montage that I put together, but I can assure you that they are people like the CEO of Google, people like Cornel West, for some reason, talking about a new world order with some swing, quoting Al Green. I don't know if we need a new world order with some Cornel. And just so many more. And then even Glenn Beck placating to Saakashvili, the president of Georgia, after that false flag event where Georgia attacked Russia, and then they blamed the Russians for actually stopping the brutal attack. How dare they? And he went on Glenn Beck when he was on CNN, espousing that this is about a new world order, Glenn. And then, Glenn called him a great patriot.
Yeah, Glenn was just like, thank you.
and no, it's not surprising that Hitler would want a new world order, one world government. Basically, every tyrant since the dawn of time has wanted to control the entire world. Hitler was trying to take over Europe first, and then from there expand out and control more of the world. It's obvious. Tyrants want to control the entire world. You have the same people wishing for the same things today. It's not a new topic at all. It's really not. It's not a new dream of.
Well, yeah, Karis One has a quote, one of his freestyles about that. Yeah. It's not really new,
Yeah, it's not new at all. So, we're going to continue talking with Jason Bermas after this quick break. We have time for a few more calls for him. The number is 512-646-1984. So please call in with your questions ready, and we'll go right on air with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wake up. It might be Wednesday evening, but it's never too late to wake up. We have the groundbreaking information, the groundbreaking guest. This is the Truth Exposed radio show. I am Matthew Medina.
And I am Cody Hess.
And our guest is Jason Bermas. You can find him on Facebook. URL is facebook.com/Jason Bermas.
All right, well, let's see. We got a caller in the wing, Bill from Texas. Bill, what is your question for Jason Bermas?
Well, listening to this gentleman and his broad understanding and broad knowledge and foundation of knowledge related to the whole subject, I'm wondering if he were to pull out his crystal ball and if he could see into the future, where does he think a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? What are the potential things that could happen? Not that they're going to happen, but what he thinks might happen.
Well, the thing I'm worried about the most is that there is an actual crash of the economy and a banker's holiday. I've been one of those people that's kind of sat on the fence and said, well, you could see it, but I really think they want to do it incrementally. But that incrementalism can only go so far, and it has gone so far to the point where now they're stealing pension funds. Now they're openly admitting that everything is going to cost a little more. You're starting to see the price raised in stores like Walmart. China is openly telling us not to print more dollars for the Federal Reserve. And remember, $600 billion in government bonds given to the Federal Reserve are then lended out 100-fold. So people don't understand, that $600 billion turns into $6 trillion for your local banks. And I mean, by local banks, I mean J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, and all the smaller ones. And then they, in turn, lend that 10 times out. So you end up having 100 times this. The numbers from Bloomberg now, well over a year ago, were 23.7 trillion out of a 700 billion.
Yeah, it was just a number. It was just a masked number.
Yeah, it was just a masked number, and that's what happened again. So my biggest fear is that we will see an actual crash, an actual banker's holiday sometime within either this year or next year. And I think that the globalists would love to do it in a scenario where it's in the middle of winter, where basically half the population in the United States can't grow their own food. It's going to become a disaster. People will panic. They will declare martial law in the streets. They will open up makeshift FEMA centers. I think that is a possibility. I hope it's not a probability. I then look into my little crystal ball, and I don't see any end to these wars. I mean, you can listen to me when I hosted the Alex Jones show, when I was doing the Info Warrior, saying to people before the election that Barack Obama would not be getting us out of the Middle East. Let me repeat that. Barack Obama would not be getting us out of the Middle East. And then when they even made their pullout plan of 50,000 non-combat troops, which again is a masked semantical term because there's no such thing as a soldier in war without a weapon. So non-combat troops is just an utter joke. And that they would even be down to 50,000 by the end of 2011. I promised you that we would be in there long afterwards. And even if they do pull it down to 100,000 or even 200,000 troops in the Middle East, all they're doing is hiring private mercenaries, whether they be Blackwater or their next CIA creation. So we're going to continue to see that. I don't even have to look into a crystal ball to tell you that.
And we know that Blackwater's running rampant over there in Afghanistan. You even have the President Karzai coming out and speaking out about him now.
Well, absolutely. People got to understand, although these guys sit at the table and negotiate, they don't necessarily love one another. I'm sure Karzai, has problems with his brother Waleed, who has to deal with a whole separate faction of the Department of Defense and the CIA in order to help them smuggle in the heroin.
Exactly.
I mean, these geopolitical situations are never easy. My biggest fear is that they pull off another terror attack. However, with Fox News going as far as they can, with so many people awakened, although they want to, label us as nut jobs, and Jon Stewart wants to say 9/11 was an outside job. We have pierced the mainstream, and enough people at least have it in the back of their heads that if something were to happen, they automatically are going to look at the government. Let's look at the Cleveland show from about a month ago.
Yeah.
It was the first live animated program, of course a spoof. But at the very end, what's the last thing that Cleveland said? He says, 9/11 was an inside job. Good night, everybody.
Hey, Jason, I got something for you too, though, because I totally feel you and agree with you, like everything you're talking about. But I still have friends that'll say, Geraldo can go on there and say it. It doesn't matter. Cleveland could go on there. He's making fun of us. So what do you got to say to people with that attitude?
Obviously, the South Park thing was making fun of us. But here's the thing with the Cleveland Brown joke. it doesn't take a political stance. It just shows that it's part of the culture. It's there for shock value. In other words, if you are a truther and you watch that, you go, oh my God, I can't believe they just said that on television. If you're not a truther or you hate truthers and you see that, you go, oh my God, I can't believe they just said that on television. So really, all that is pointing out that 9/11 was an inside job, or the idea that the government helped stage the 9/11 attacks is deeply embedded in the American culture at this point.
Yeah, if everyone just understands what a false flag event is now because of all this information getting out, if the government tries to stage something, a lot more people are going to be awake to it and questioning it from the get-go. It's not going to take a few years for the 9/11 truth movement to get going, you know, like it did with 9/11. Now a movement's going to start the minute after the attack happens.
That's exactly right.
So I think that's what's so important about getting out there and talking about false flag terrorism.
And I think that's also something to say about people in alternative media like Alex Jones, who are out there pounding out the information again and again. Like we have the Robert Shapiro saying that that Obama needs, like what Clinton had, some Oklahoma-style event. And then this other Clinton official comes out and says the same thing. And we got to keep pounding that information out there, because there are some people in the movement who say, oh, you know, we just keep hearing the same thing over and over again. Maybe like earlier in the year, they might have been saying that about body scanners, but now it's all in the media every day for like a week about body scanners. So it does take time. We got to keep pounding the information out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, all right, Jason, we have a few minutes left with you, so I just wanted to ask you one major question just for everybody listening. I just want to know, what is your main advice to all of the activists out there, all the filmmakers trying to start up some documentary movies about this? I know that we have, you know, one of our fellow hosts on another show is starting up a movie about Oklahoma City bombing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's it called, Matt?
Noble Lie.
Yeah, Noble Lie. And all the people out there that are trying to do this, what is your main advice? Because you have been one of the most forefront people with coming out there and spreading the truth.
Find a good editor. Find a good editor. Find a good editor. Find somebody out there that knows a little bit more about video and audio production than you do. Be humble and realize that you're going to have to cut a lot of stuff to make it faster paced and more coherent. One of the hardest things to do is make a movie. You know, that's why I only get to put one out every year or two. You know, I wish I could put out a movie every 6 months. But if you want it to be able to last, if you want it to be watchable, you can't just make it a clip show. You can't make it just a run of interviews. It really has to be that combination of your narration, you know, those interviews. You can sometimes get away without a narrator, but even when you watch like a Truth Rising, it's almost like Luke Rudowski is your main narrator, even though it's not always set out that way. So, you know, I always tell people, find somebody who knows what they're doing on the editing machine, get the most important information out there, and try to combine it in a movie that's fast-paced and very understandable to somebody that's not familiar to the subject matter. You know, it has to be double-edged. It has to be out there something new for the people that have been looking into this, that want some more information, that want that next-level video to hand to other people. But at the same time, people who have no idea about this stuff, you have to bring them in slow, I think.
You do.
And
You're
filmmakers, I would listen to what Jason Bermas is saying, because he's produced 3 major hard-hitting films, over 8 million views conservatively of Loose Change just on the internet. Invisible Empire, close to 1 million. I'd say even more than that. I mean, everybody's seen it. That's just the internet alone. I mean, this guy knows what he's talking about. So, Jason, in the last 30 seconds, what about advice for activists?
You know, don't be scared to get out there and have tools ready. The Apple iPad is a great tool right now. A portable DVD player is a great tool. Burn DVDs are a great tool. Printed government documents and articles are great tools. And remember, try to relate to people out there. Don't fall for this, you know, bullcrap, anarchist stuff. Make a real difference. Communicate with other human beings. This isn't about just breaking stuff and wearing black. This is about restoring the Republic, bringing back the Constitution, and changing humanity for the better.
Jason, we thank you for having on the show. We want you to get back on air, so if people want to help out with that, go to facebook.com/Jason Bermas. We thank you so much for being on the air with us tonight on Truth Exposed Radio, and we'd like to thank everyone out there listening. The show's not over yet. We got tons of more news articles coming up, information, so we'd just like to thank all of you all for listening. This is the Truth Exposed Radio Show, truthexposedradio.com, ruleoflawradio.com.